Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. My name, of course, is Potato, and welcome to a little bit of a different video. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting all of the changes that have been made to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic in the most recent update. Chief amongst them is a brand new nuclear power industry, which is incredibly cool, but there is also a bunch of really other interesting things that I thought, you know what? I'll make this video and we'll chat about it. Chief amongst them, and the first thing that you will come to when starting a brand new game is the feature to have a randomized map. So, I mean, I'm going to jump into the randomized map. I've customized the settings already, and we're going to start a new game. There are a couple of different modifiers that you can tweak. Why don't we build 10 cities and roads, increase the amount of forests, decrease the tree density. Sure. Let's jump into it and see what we've got. Now, I want to try and talk about as many of the new changes as possible. A lot of them are quality of life changes, in addition to, as I've already highlighted, the brand new nuclear industry, which I still can't believe is actually here. That is tremendously exciting. It really, really is. And there's also a bunch of other interesting things which we'll talk about. All right, and here it is. This is our totally randomized map. We've got, let's have a little look. Let's have a little look at the mini-map down in the corner here. As you can see, there's a bunch of towns, there's a bunch of roads, there's a bunch of already populated buildings. It looks like there's a bunch of hilly terrain as well, which is very, very cool indeed. Resources as well. There's little patches of resources that can be found pretty much everywhere. And as you can see down the right-hand side, there's been a brand new resource added. That's right, it's uranium ore. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That's brilliant. So immediately from this screen, you can see that there are a couple of different buttons that we can experiment clicking. So first up in the top right-hand corner is the screen mark search. Now, this is a really interesting way, actually, of just finding what you're looking for. So, for example, I can select a bunch of filters. I can go into citizens' current location, workers with lower education, and as you see, all of those people will be highlighted on the screen. I can also do the same with cars, trains, ships, buildings, highlight the churches, highlight the residential buildings, etc. I can do all of that stuff. I mean, that's not a major thing, but it's just a little nicety. Right, so the thing that everyone is talking about, that of course I need to discuss first, it is of course the brand new nuclear industry. Now, we've already got a regular coal power plant. That is the size of a regular coal power plant. I'm just going to place that down just for the sake of comparison, because the nuclear industry, as well as adding a brand new ore, it also adds a brand new type of connection. So, first things first, we need to get a uranium mine. Now, I've headed across to the map on somewhere where there are uranium resources. I'm gonna plonk down a little uranium mine right over here. Now, you will note that if I hover over the nuclear industry section with the auto build rubles on, you will see that just the mine costs 140,000 rubles. And at maximum production, it will output 0.75 tons of uranium ore. So there we go. That's the first thing. And actually, this is highlighted. This has highlighted another little quirky feature that I wasn't going to talk about, but is a total game changer, and that is conveyors auto building. So as you can see, the uranium output has connected wrongly, admittedly, to the coal power plant over there, or the conveyor has connected up. So that is really, really cool indeed. Right, so we need to go from a uranium mine into a uranium processing plant, and that is going to turn our uranium ore into uranium oxide. And as you can see, there we go. We can now confidently place the uranium processing plant right over there, fully in the knowledge that the conveyor is going to connect up absolutely perfectly, which is wonderful. Right, let's see all of that built. I'm just going to rush build all of this because I'm just doing it for demonstrational purposes. And so from the uranium processing plant, we are going to go into the uranium conversion plant. That's right, we're going to go into the uranium conversion plant. And as you can also see, look at that, the factory connections. The factory connections work and auto-connect as well, just like the conveyors. So that is really cool. So in total, in order to get these three buildings, you're going to be looking at, roughly 300,000 rubles, unless of course you want to build them by yourself, in which case, you know, it's just going to be standard resources, but, you know, rather a lot of steel, rather a lot of mechanical components. The more technical the buildings are, they tend to have more mechanical components. It's pretty much that simple. Cool. So after that, after the uranium conversion plant, we go to the nuclear fuel fabrication plant. That's right. And this is a big one. This is 272,000 rubles. So so very, very expensive indeed. And again, can be connected up via factory connection. So we're going to plonk that one down as well. Now, of course, I haven't actually got the employees to manage this area quite yet, but we'll get to that in just a second. And we're still building the mine. We've built the processing plant. That requires 60 workers and a couple of engineers. You will note, actually, that we do need a lot of engineers for all of this stuff. So you will need you will need a lot of educated population in order to make this possible. And you know what? This highlights another fantastic feature that I think I personally have been waiting for forever, and that is now that Windows Scroll. Look at that. It's like magic. It is brilliant. It is absolutely brilliant. Okay, so at maximum capacity, this uranium processing plant can consume 36 tons of iron ore. Now, we've already identified that this, at maximum production, can produce 0.75 tons per worker, so we might not be able to hit the maximum number with relative ease, but, you know, we'll certainly try it. Right, so, anyway, this has taken a heck of a long time, so I'll be with you when this is all up and running. Right, so I've created like a very, very rudimentary city right in the heart of a nuclear processing area. Not a very, very wise idea, but I must confess, it does have a certain Soviet charm to it. Absolutely does. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up some power cabling. However, that's right, when I go into the high voltage wire tab, you can see that there are now a whole bunch of brand new types of high voltage wire. So right now, you can get up to a maximum of 18 megawatts transported through high voltage wires, and you can go right the way down to 4 as well. So that is very, very cool indeed. Let's link up. Do we have? Yeah, we've got a high power connection over here. That's right, they're all brand new. They look really, really swanky. I really, really like the design of these wires. I think they look real nifty. I think they look real neat. I'm gonna just bring it on over here. Let's stick down not a high voltage switch, a power transformer. That's perfect. And we'll go into there. And we will then go to medium voltage wires. And what do you know? These have all been redone as well, and there's also been an intermediate wire added. I think it's this one. I think this is the intermediate wire. It looks brand new, although the amount of electricity that it takes I don't think is that different. Either way, let's get the best type of medium voltage wire in order to power our, I don't know, brand new nuclear complex. And hopefully, we should be able to get a power supply as soon as we start importing power from the border. There we go. Import. Boom. Crack that up to 18 megawatts. Man, now you can import 18 megawatts. That's brilliant. And you can also export 18 megawatts. So that is pretty darn important. Right. So, are we able to start work on all of this stuff? That's right. You're gosh darn right. Okay, we're making 37 tons of uranium ore per day, which ain't too shabby if I do say so myself. We need to connect up this plant with a connection, although that does not seem to be going too well. Is there a building in the way? I didn't think there was a building in the way there. Also, it seems like the paths now curve in a much more realistic way. So when you go to design the curve, you can actually use the scroll wheel. You can actually use the scroll wheel to try and customize the shape of it. Look at that. That is brilliant. I love it. That is fantastic. That is really, really cool. Very, very cool indeed. Right, let's redraw this factory connection, if indeed that's still possible. That doesn't look like it's possible. Let me see if I can try and do this. Alright, you are not going to allow me to do this, video game. I see what's going on. There we go. We'll have to get an intermediate connection in order to use forklifts. That's fine. If we have to do that, then that is totally fine. we will purchase some forklifts, and we will just get the forklifts to, you know, just find the connections and get that all sorted. We will automatically be able to start production of uranium oxide. That's not super difficult to do. We've just got the regular incoming conveyor. That's very, very cool. And now we will just wait for the uranium oxide to be moved over to the conversion plant, which is very, very nice. Also, we can set the type of container, apparently, that we wish to store our uranium oxide in. Does that matter? I'm not entirely sure it does. But there we go. It's rad protected. Yeah, there you go. Cool. Right, let's get this stuff moved across, and then let's see if we can turn it into nuclear fuel. We can also set the type of container over here as well. I'm not sure it changes anything visually, and we only have one option, so I don't think it changes anything. I suspect it changes the export zone. Yeah, it changes the export zone, but there's only one type of container at the moment. I suspect that might be useful when it comes to mods in the future. You know, you're able to use different types of container and whatnot. Okay, so that is very, very cool. Let's progress to build the rest of our nuclear power infrastructure, because if you can believe it, we ain't done. Coal power plant over here, obviously, for reference. We now have the opportunity to build a single nuclear power plant, a single reactor nuclear power plant, and that is going to cost us 414,000 rubles, or alternatively, we can build a twin reactor nuclear power plant, which is going to cost 747,000 rubles, in addition to the cooling towers. I mean, look, we gotta try both of them, don't we? We gotta try both of them. So if you can believe it, this is the smaller one. That's the coal power plant, and then we step it up to the single reactor nuclear power thingamabobber. So let's do that over there. I mean, I haven't built this in a terribly clever fashion, have I? Why is that getting caught up? Ah, there we go. Okay, brilliant. So let's do this, shall we? Except I'm going to turn it that way around because I want to make sure that it works a little bit better, and let's start construction of that. I'm also going to, for demonstrational purposes, build the twin reactor as well. There we go. Let's get that ground flattened. Also, with regards to cooling towers, we need cooling towers. As you can see, the new type of connection has been added. It's like a black connection with a puff of steam. That is a cooling pipe connection, and so I'm going to stick in a cooling tower. I don't know how many cooling towers we're actually going to need, but I'm going to stick that in right over there. Brilliant. And in the meantime, we can actually link up a cooling pipe connection, which is the brand new connection type, from here to here, and then from here all the way back. We'll do that in chunks. There we go. Brilliant. So this is a brand new sort of concertina pipe connection, which I think looks pretty darn cool. Also, the pipeline has been retextured, so it looks a little bit funky, a little bit different. Also, it would be totally remiss of me to talk right now about how pipelines have dramatically improved. Now, for example, if you want to get rid of a pipeline, you don't have to get rid of the whole darn thing. You don't have to, you know, re-spend 40,000 rubles in order to build like a key bit of infrastructure. You just delete the bit that you're not interested in having around anymore, and then you get to rebuild. You get to rebuild the pipeline bit. Very, very cool. Big thumbs up from me. That's right. It's fantastic. Very, very cool indeed. So, whilst the nuclear power plant is building right over there, you can just see it finishing construction over in the background, I've taken you across to the customs house to see the brand new mechanic of buying resources. So, what you can actually do is you can actually set up a nice little route. So I've got, I don't know, I've just got a demonstrational example here. We've got the W50 cistern truck, which I'm going to add as a brand new stop. I'm going to add the customs house. And now we are able to actually buy any of the resources that indeed we are interested in buying. So I'm going to, for demonstrational purposes, I'm going to set up a little fuel delivery route to go from the customs house over to the gas station. So we'll unpause that and watch the truck head out and actually buy the resource at the customs house, which is very, very cool indeed. I believe that it retails for this price at the moment, or at least, you know, around that price. I don't think that it's a more complex simulation. I don't think buy prices, I don't think sell prices are different, but, you know, don't quote me on that. Also, that allows me to discuss a brand new feature and the brand new button at the top of the list here. And also something which I've clicked on by clicking View Line Detail. You can see that we now have an overview of the specific line and the specific route that this oil tanker is taking. Now, of course, there's no power. There's no power here, so he's not actually going to be able to. He's not actually going to be able to unload his cargo, but that's fine. It doesn't particularly matter for my purposes. Either way, we now have fantastically a list of the line, which is brilliant, and we can actually modify the line as a whole, which is brilliant because it means that you can actually set lines to other vehicles. So what do you know? I'm going to set these two guys. I'm going to set these two guys to a different line, and what do you know, you can also actually dispatch all of the trucks from a simple button in the bottom right hand corner of the interface within the vehicle depot. I mean, that is just a tremendous improvement. Managing a large number of vehicles will now be so much easier in comparison to what it was. It really is a colossal step in the right direction. Right, let's switch on back over to our single reactor nuclear power plant. And oh boy, it looks brilliant. So, what have we got here? Well, first of all, we need to link up the uranium input, which shouldn't be too difficult. There we go. Thanks to industry connections all automatically just working. Will you connect up there? I don't think you will. Too steep of a descent? Really? I mean, I feel like that's a little bit of a shame. Also, I believe that road terraforming and rail terraforming has been updated slightly so that it now is a little bit easier to manipulate land. Still too steep of an incline. All right. Wasn't really anticipating having this issue, but there we go. We can stick it down right over there. Brilliant. It's so easy. It's so easy to connect these bits and bobs up. It's so unbelievably easy. Let's get a forklift garage right over there. Set that up. Buy some mechanisms. And let's see if we can start transporting some uranium across here. We do not have engineers working in this factory, so it would probably be a good idea if we linked up the footpath to the route here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Just get it all hooked up. There's also a whole housing area over here, which I have not thus far done anything with. There we go. Nice. Okay. Have we got engineers? We do indeed. We are missing chemicals and we are missing UFC. Now this part needs chemicals, which is my bad. I will import chemicals purely for demonstrational purposes. And I will import chemicals here as well. So we will basically just auto import as much stuff as we possibly can. But I don't want to auto import the key uranium components. So at maximum production, we can produce 0.96 tons of UF6, which will then be moved over here. And at maximum consumption, we consume 0.4 tons of UF6, as well as a fairly insignificant amount of chemicals as well. Although, you know, chemicals cost money. Right. So, this should be moved across whenever we reach a substantial amount. I'm going to just start actually purchasing UF6. Now, this actually costs a fair amount of money, as you can imagine, even though I am fairly close to the border and the delivery cost will not be that substantial. There we go. Start importing both of those. Right. So let's start manufacturing. Nuclear fuel. That is what we're after. Yep. Set container type. We've already set the container type. We already know what type of container we're going to be using. And so now we are actually legitimately producing nuclear fuel. Part of the reason for putting all of the population so darn close to the nuclear fuel fabrication area is that I wanted to demonstrate how much pollution actually came from the nuclear industry. Truth be told, I don't know. So let's build a let's build a pollution monitoring system and see what the situation is. Already you can see things are a little bit dicey. Not looking too good. Now we also get a dosimeter, a dosometer, and we should be able to have a little look at radiation levels around the place. I think you basically just hover the thing around. I guess not much radiation has been given off quite yet, presumably because we haven't actually started running the reactor. Not quite yet, anyway. Right. Let me set up a connection over here. There we go, because we are going to need people to work at the nuclear place in just a second. Man, I'm a little bit apprehensive about this, to be honest. We do need a couple of engineers, but we should manage to do that in just a second. And as you can see here, we can produce up to 4,680 megawatt hours of power for a very, very, very tiny amount of nuclear fuel actually used. Okay. Are we ready to move? Are we ready to move the nuclear fuel? I feel like we should be ready to move the nuclear fuel. Alright, well, we're producing it, but we're not moving it yet. I guess we just need to wait until the minimum threshold for a forklift is crossed, but that's fine. Because you know what we can do, since this is a one-off thing? That's right, we can import nuclear fuel for 111,000 rubles, which is absolutely obscene, but I mean that's what we're dealing with here. And now, as you can see, the nuclear reactor is working. It's actually happening. We're doing it. We are actually doing it. This is incredible. Can I have a little look? No, it doesn't look like any radiation is being given off quite yet. Also, you'll note at the backside of this facility, of this building, there is, I mean, a tremendous amount of high voltage outputs, which is just as well, because we're going to need to get a high voltage output to go all the way over to here. Yep, which is the next closest high voltage output. There we go. Wonderful. And right in there. Brilliant. We're going to set you to exports, and we're going to export as much as we will be able to. And what do you know? We are actually able to do it. We are actually legitimately able to do it, and our dollars are increasing tremendously. Brilliant. I mean, even that, we're only using a fraction. We're only using a fraction of our output. Wow. That is incredible. Right, after the nuclear resource is spent, it's turned into heavy used nuclear fuel, which is also fine, and we will deal with that in just a second. But this is looking pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. What can I say? Of course, the twin nuclear reactor thingamabobber, nuclear reactor power plant, it uses even more. It uses even more nuclear fuel, and it produces double the power. Pretty much. Yep, double the power of a single reactor. So, I mean, that is pretty insane. I mean, this whole thing is just bananas. You know, you're producing so much power. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense how much power we're able to produce. But there we go. Another major game-changing aspect of this update are these two buildings. So this is the medium distribution office, and then this is the small distribution office. And what a distribution office will basically do is it will auto-dispatch trucks to a certain facility, a certain building, if it has less than a specified amount of goods. So I've got a single truck here, and I've got it to set up to go to my small shopping center. And as soon as that shopping center reaches less than 30% of its food, the truck will dispatch and head out. Now, obviously, I don't have any food trucks at the moment going to where they need to go. So hold on, let me set this to 0. Brilliant. Let me set up a warehouse, just a regular warehouse to store food. Yep, just like so. Brilliant. And then we will auto purchase food in this warehouse just to show you what it's all about. And then we'll go into here and we will load at this place and unload at the factory. And as you can see, immediately dispatched, immediately loading food up, and then immediately going to deliver the food to the small shopping center. No longer do you have to micromanage hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trucks in order to distribute food, clothes, electronics, and meat to a specific building. No, you just have a medium distribution office which takes care of all of that for you. And on that note of distribution of resources, the calculation that calculates walking distance to and from different places has been updated. It looks a little bit cleaner, don't you think? Well, also it means that basically people can walk a heck of a lot further. So as you can see, from the kindergarten right on over to the nuclear fuel fabrication area, it now calculates a 368 meter journey, which I think is probably fairly accurate. But at the same time, it'll also allow people to actually walk that distance. So, town centers can now be a little bit more spread out. No longer do you have to pack in a whole bunch of really big buildings really tightly together in order to ensure that pathways can fit between them. It should all just work. Right, and with the nuclear power station operating wonderfully, it remains to chat about a few minor things that have finally been updated. If I go into ships, you can now see that there are a bunch of different harbor types. So we've got the small harbor, which is not going to conveniently fit onto this little bit of land, is it? Either way, that's the small harbor. We've also got the cargo harbor medium, which of course existed. Both of these existed before this update. However, now we've also got the harbor for aggregate loading, which is a specific harbor for loading gravel, quarried stone, coal ore, iron ore, and uranium ore as well. Very, very cool indeed. We've got an aggregate unloading harbor. We've also got a pumping harbor, which is a purely oil-related harbor as well, and then we've also got a medium passenger harbor, which I don't think was in before. However, it may well have been. Either way, I think the boats are going to continue to play an increasingly large role in this game, and also now, if you have a boat that is exporting resources, it has to travel to the edge of the map rather than just the border. So keep that in mind. The journey that your boat will take will now be slightly longer. And no doubt that will change going forward. But I just wanted to do this little video to update everyone on some of the major changes, and hope that you have a wonderful time playing around with the game. We are going to be continuing the big old series that I'm doing over on my channel. Probably starting afresh, calling it a start fresh. However, actually continuing with the map, as well as my regular Twitch streams over at twitch.tv/potato, where no doubt I will be playing more of this wonderful game. Thank you very much for watching, folks. If you've enjoyed this video, please, consider checking out the Patreon. It helps make videos like this directly possible. Thanks for watching, folks. I'll see you next time. Bye.